And you would have to take the front. Good afternoon, everyone. As most of you know, my name is Sylvia Furch. For the ones who do not know me, I am the Life Enrichment Director. I have been in this type of field for over 33 years in many different areas. I started my first time in the dietary department as a prep cook, then moved over to the lead cook. Then I was moved over and asked if I wanted to be an activity director, so I took that job on. Then I left it briefly to have one of my last child. Then I went back to work and thought I'd try becoming a CNA. So I did that, then went into restorative aid, medical records, LPN, and moved to Oregon 13 years ago, where I have been here since then, where I used to do the nurse at Northern Lights, and now I am doing life enrichment. So yes, I've seen a lot of changes, and what I can say about the Mennonite Village is the belief that they have about culture change and how we treat our residents. Life enrichment and culture change. Culture change for the Life Enrichment Department, also known as a person-centered care for resident-directed care, which transforms the long-term care model to one that nurtures the human spirit as well as meeting the medical needs. Goals of culture change are to restore control over daily living to our residents of long-term facilities, respecting the rights of residents to make their own decisions, to involve all levels of staff in this care process, honoring those who work most closely with the residents. It also includes hearing from families and friends in a team-building approach for this care. Quality of life, quality of care. The residents we serve have more power now in making decisions concerning the various types of activities, treatments, and schedules. They are to be part of the team approach in care conference, neighborhood meetings, and in the survey process, and much more. The responsibilities of professionals are based on the need for quality of life and quality of care for each people we serve. Person care-centered activity. A person care-centered activity is one who listens to our residents' requests or concerns and validating them. One, allowing them to have input in their activity calendar by letting them choose what type of outing or what to attend each month. Letting them know that they have input on when and where they want to go or when they want to get up in the morning for each day. A person-centered continuation is also by respecting their choice not to join in social groups or any holiday events based on their religious beliefs. As caregivers, we must honor their wishes. Having input on menu choices and types of food based on their traditional foods that they've once had when they were at home. Finding their likes and dislikes in all areas, not just life enrichment. Beyond bingo. The stereotype of activities in the elder home is playing bingo and watching television. Of course, some progress has been made in the front as Wii games, computers, tablets, Kindles are becoming the big media area. Some of our residents are already moving into the Kindle books that we have available for our residents here. So if you know anybody who you feel that is capable of handling a Kindle book, we do have those available for our residents here. Anyone can. Activities can occur at any time, not limited to formal activities being provided by Life Enrichment staff, and can include activities provided by other facility staff and volunteers and visitors, residents, and family members. We've already have some staff members who have come to me, and I don't see her here, who would do an activity, arts and crafts type for them already, and all we do is give her some money. She goes buy the supplies, and she conducted a group with the residents already. So if any of you guys want to do this, feel free to see us, and we'll get you started up. We need your help. We need staff, volunteers who can help with outings, bingo, and arts and crafts. So any of you guys who are off on a second Tuesday or a fourth Tuesday and you want to challenge yourself and come with us to an outing, you can, because we need pushers. We need people who can come with us, and I have several nurses and aides here who have been with us already, and you haven't seen anything like this till you've actually gone on an outing, and they are totally different people. So please volunteer, join us on second and fourth Tuesday of the month, unless it's a special, and we'll put on an extra one. So we also need volunteers who will come in and do room visits, who don't mind reading to our residents here at our facility. A lot of our people here need companions, so if you know anybody who wants to come in and do some reading or volunteering, painting of nails, I don't care what it is. Well, yes, I do care, but anybody who wants to come volunteer, please come see us. There's a process that we all have to do to sign up to be a volunteer. Holidays are the big ones where we need help with shoppers, wrappers for the residents. So anybody who's a good wrapper or shopper, please see us, okay? These are accomplishments that we have had throughout the year. Taking our male residents fishing, and this is going to become an annual event with Bernie's help over here from the Wellness Center. We actually have all the...
Wait a minute, females can't go fishing?
Well, yes, we do have some, but a majority of them are the males, but yes, females can. My goodness, speaking up for the women, I like that. So we do have a day set aside in June, which is fishing out here at Lakeside, and you're more than welcome to come help us. Talk to myself or Bernie, and we can get you set up for June, I believe it's in, right? Attending and being part of the Veterans Parade. Any of our people who have done time with our veterans here and actually been on this parade is guaranteed to bring tears to your eyes on some of the stuff that's done with them. And then our big accomplishment was taking them to the wildlife safari. That was an event, and that's something that we'll never forget. We actually took one of our male residents to a Beaver baseball game. Most of you know who he is. I'm not sure if I can say his name, but anyways, he went, and he had a good time. Looking ahead, staff other than Life Enrichment can conduct an activity group. And we're talking about after hours, so if you guys see the residents that are still staying up and have nothing to do, I'm trying to stock both floors with games, puzzles, and stuff in the drawers, music, DVDs, and if you need arts and crafts supplies, we're slowly moving that stuff up there too. I would like to take them to a jazz concert or a live play. That's in the future. I need more men volunteers. We did have someone who was with us and loved doing the wood making stuff, and if we have any more, I would love to make them, because we will buy the stuff and they have a good time helping us sand the stuff. Even like I said, our fishers. Change is now. Gone are the days of treating residents as if they were cut from the same mold. Understanding that culture change is now geared to person-centered type activities. Change is now focused on people and relationships. Thank you, all of you, for all the hard work you put into each day and every day in working with our residents. Thank you for being a part of a team that wants to better our residents' quality of life. Any questions for this part? I still have another part. Yes. Go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering what one of the goals is for restorative.
That's
care.
the next.
I assume it's coming, so I put my hand in.
Coming at your nearest traction. Okay, for those of you who do not have those questions answered, here's the other part. This is restorative care. Goals for restorative care / CNAs, which it has moved to the new forefront of, it is not just now life enrichment, it is everyone's job, nursing, CNAs, except for housekeeping, I'm sorry. So we're here to promote activity, mobility, and independence in daily activities, to increase muscle strength and balance, to promote the increased involvement with others, to aid in decrease in depression. It also encourages participation from both in all residents and staff. Our main objective is to increase the quality of life for our residents, to keep our residents motivated. Making sure my things go good. It includes all aspects of the individual in their feelings, thoughts, lifestyle, and physical condition. It focuses on preventing deterioration whenever possible, and it seeks to improve the residents' self-image and self-esteem. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Nursing, restorative CNA care. Teamwork comes with the nursing department and life enrichment working together to help with the residents taking part in group activities, as not to make them appear as they are actually exercising. We also work with our wellness center, who encourages socialization, mobility, which helps motivate the residents while they are using their memory recall as they are exercising. Identifying potential candidates for RA dining. This one is very important. So people who are candidates for RA dining are people who have had recent CVAs, have difficulty swallowing liquids or textured foods, must have the ability to move one or both hands to the mouth, must have problems eating because of limited range of motion, poor eye-hand coordination, or sensory deficits, or have visual limitations that interfere with ability to eat. Residents who are not candidates for RA dining are residents who are at high risk for choking, residents who are unwilling or unable to follow directions, residents who are combative when care is given, residents who display socially inappropriate behaviors such as spitting or throwing foods during meal times, and residents who cannot sit upright. Things to watch with residents who are in RA dining, and this is a main concern that we have. So when the days that we do not have RA dining and we have a candidate who is in RA dining, this is where the CNAs pick up, and these are things that you guys should be made aware of, to watch for signs and symptoms of aspiration, such as secretions from the nose or watery eyes, reddening of the face, changes in breath rate or lung sounds, coughing, gaggling, gurgle, or wet sounds. When someone is on a dysphagia diet, it is one that has different textures of foods and liquids. It is used with people who have problems with chewing or swallowing. This is an order, and it comes from the doctor and a speech therapist. This must be followed. Meats are moist or ground. Bacon is one that we frequently see being given when we're not doing it, and it should not be offered at all, because this is a choking hazard for someone who is on RA dining that has a dysphagia diet. Make sure that they take small bites, sips, and eat slowly. Make sure that they swab their mouth with a toothpick once they are done with their meals. We don't want any food left on the sides for pocketing, so be aware of foods on the side. And remind them they must stay upright for at least 30 minutes. Top 10 reasons to incorporate restorative enricher care into routine activities. It's a good way to establish a routine for residents. Residents will be in a better mood, better overall quality of life. Restorative care will improve residents' functioning. It'll also give them higher functioning. Residents require less strenuous care. And you will have less risk of injuring yourself from lifting and pulling these residents. Also, residents will be getting stronger, will have fewer falls and skin tears, and family members will feel more confident that their care that you are providing for them, and residents will feel better about themselves, and they will feel like they've accomplished something. Moving forward and working together. RA Dining has a set time to start at each meal. We need our residents up and ready to start before the meals. RA Dining requires more time, more one-on-one, and they should be your first residents to get up first due to how long it takes at meal times. All residents who are in RA Dining need to be in a quiet room with no distractions, and this is where we need your help by telling the family members and helping us explain to them that they are not allowed in these rooms. We have a bunch of families who feel that they need to be there, and they shouldn't. Moving forward. We need your help bringing residents to the exercise groups. It helps with socialization and seeing others who work out with them of their same peers. This is one for Miss Joanne. During flu season, she wants us to remind everyone that if someone is sick, help us and everyone else to communicate with each other when you see that they are sick and there's changes in their condition. In other words, if there's an illness, infection that others could be in close contact with, we should help keeping our sick residents from our well residents. Oops, pushed the wrong button. Got it. Social help from others. Encourage involvement with other family members and friends, other residents and staff members. Everyone can help give positive feedback. When you see a resident ambulating with a life enricher or another CNA, get excited for them, especially when you see them accomplishing a task that they don't feel very happy about. Come spend some time with the residents, listening to them, particularly listen to them with their life experiences. Some of them will have you laughing and some of them will have you crying. But I think most of you CNAs already know that when you're working with them. Help keep our residents from declining and try to get them moving and stimulated. We're almost done. Teamwork is done by all. Communication, everyone has a valuable input. Encouragement should come from all departments, not just nursing. We want to hear from everyone. Participation. Several studies have been shown that increased socializing leads to good health, better moods, better overall quality of life. So help us encourage our residents to get involved. There is no I in team. It takes all of us. That is it. I'm sorry. Yes, Marge, sorry.
Regarding the rule, the no bacon rule and the no families,
Right.
do you have clashes in between the culture change that says the resident has the right to choose what he wants? Have you had residents say, I want bacon anyway, or I want my family here anyway? And how is that resolvable?
Yes, yes, we've had, Robin, if you want to take lead on this one, because you've had the ones, you've had the ones with the families who are insistent.
The families said they have to be there.
Because most of the residents are pretty agreeable. It's the families that we're having problems with, that they want them to have that bacon that they had before.
Also, it's the families that are,
It's the family that are pushing to be in there.
And if they really wanted, they have to sign a release paper.
okay.
If, once they do that release paper, then they don't become restorative.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
another patient or another resident in there, that's the whole thing.
Go ahead, Dorothy.
The goals for the culture change, can you talk a little bit more about that?
What was it?
Goals for the culture change?
Goals of the culture change, do you want me to give you an answer, or you want? Let me find it. Goals of culture change, here we go. To restore control over daily living of our residents. Is that enough of an answer? And to involve all staff in all areas?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Which one?
The one,
Restore control?
yeah,
Restore control over daily living to our residents. Anybody else?
What is disaster preparedness?
That is this,
Well, you should know the answer too, shouldn't you?
I'm going to let Dave take over that.
Yeah, so we'll be on for Dave and he'll take the mic.
Using this? You got them both on?
It's all yours, sir. You may have it.
Afraid I'm gonna move around like this.
That's why I cook it on the mind.
Okay, emergency preparedness. We just had our state survey, and one of the main criteria of that survey with the fire marshal, separate from the. I mean, you have to do that too?
Because otherwise the recording can't hear you. It's that top clear button. Green, you're good. You're good.
You're on to the screen.
Testing. All right, we're on now. State separate from the the resident care survey. So, and the main focus this year is the new requirements that have come out with CMS, of which. Communications is a big deal. How are we going to communicate with our staff, our resident families, our vendors, even the state authorities, so that, you know, if we have a disaster, we have to have multiple ways of communication. So for you as staff, that means, you know, do we have cell numbers? Do we have secondary numbers of the house or a spouse, or, hey, that rhymes, or other ways, because cell towers in an emergency are going to go down, you know, in many disasters, because if power's down, they have small emergency generators that are going to run out, and then cell communication is down. So we need to depend on you all checking in with us, even coming into work, even if you're not scheduled maybe to do that. We have set up our website so that there's an emergency phone number, again, if phones can be used. If you have the ability to get online, you can go to the Mennonite Village website and get information there. And I remember in this past summer, or the summer before, when the number of wildfires in California, a cohort of ours in Oregon here, Pacific Retirement Services, has some communities down there. And in the fire area where they had to evacuate some facilities, cell towers down because the power was down, and they found their best way to communicate was via Twitter. You know, if they could get out to where they could get on a computer or get out of the area where they could get cell reception area, you know, Twittering, which I'm not one that does that, but was a primary way they communicated. So in the disaster preparedness, two things that the state fire marshal gave us citations for were a waiver requirement. We're required to have a policy to have a waiver for in a disaster situation where volunteers may be sent in by Red Cross or by disaster management to help that might not be licensed in the state of Oregon. So if they were caregivers or nurses that were sent in, but they don't have the proper credentials, we have to have a policy to get this waiver from the state of Oregon Department of Health Services to use those people to help take care of our residents. And part of it is so that you know, if we're going to continue to bill Medicaid and Medicare, you know, that we're meeting those criteria. So we have to have a policy for what's called 1135 waiver. The other one that we got a citation for was we have to have a detailed policy, plan, and procedure for how we're going to take care of our residents should we need to evacuate them off campus. How are we going to provide the staff, the supplies, the medications, the food? Because even when we evacuate residents to another facility, we, Mennonite Home, is responsible for all the costs, staff, and services that resident continues to need. So we have to have a detailed plan on how we're going to provide that. Are we going to, you know, because how are we going to transport not only the residents, but staff that we need to send along with the residents to take care of them, so the supplies that we need to send along. So, fun things. All right, let's get down to the PowerPoint. Emergency preparedness, which is, you know, a major thing that we need to have, and we have our policy and plan. What is it? It is to plan and prepare for disasters, both natural or man-made. Preparedness is defined defined as a continuous cycle of planning, organizing, training, equipping, exercising, evaluating, and taking corrective action in an effort to ensure effective coordination during an incident response. Disaster preparedness refers to measures taken to prepare for and reduce the effects of disasters, to predict and, where possible, prevent disasters, mitigate their impact to our vulnerable population, and respond to and effectively cope with their consequences. So, some things we can plan for, a windstorm or the weather, the foul weather. And I try to send out weather alerts when I get those as to, whether it's cold weather or wind or snow or ice. So we can prepare for some of those things. The big one, the earthquake, there's minimal notice as far as, being able to physically do something before it happens. So preparing, having a plan is what's crucial in something like that. In snow and ice, we can get our equipment out, we can get the salt and shovels and things ready to go, but an earthquake, not so much. Why do we have an emergency preparedness plan? An emergency can happen at any time, and we need to be ready to act and to help reduce and mitigate the loss. Do you know where the disaster manual is located in your department, and what color is the disaster manual? What color is it? Red. Red, all right. Now, we over the last year have reduced the number of hard copies that we have throughout campus. Hard copies remain at the nurses' stations and with the nursing home administrator, and the COO. We have it electronically on the public drive, which most every computer in the facility should have access to the public drive so that you can pull it up on there. January 19th of 2019, now we haven't had tornadoes yet, but this is, 19 it's showing over, last year. So, we're not very susceptible to tornadoes. There was some impact in the Lebanon area last summer, and Portland, or just across the river in Washington, had some impact this past summer. So it can happen, but we do not have the frequency of the warm air, the hot air, and the cold air hitting together, which is typical for tornadoes. So in our disaster plan, we have an index in the front of it, which has, policies and procedures and by page number, so that you can scan down through there and find a policy and procedure as needed. It's a key reference for for the charge person, and that charge person or the incident commander is the highest ranked person on site at any given time. So that's very different during graveyard shift than it would be during day shift. But during graveyard shift, this is the reference so that they can find that and find that information and the phone numbers and things to call until a higher ranked person comes back to work and can take over that role. So it's a key reference. Another whole page of policies. We have agreements for evacuation locations, missing residents, smoking policy, all kinds of things there. And you can see it's getting up 80-some pages long. The recall list is also in the front of our disaster manuals, and Michelle sends out every 2 months, for updates. We try to keep it by job description and then fill in the name and the phone number. So we try to keep that up to date. And so, if that's sent out to you, you should go on the file and click Save As and save it to somewhere on your computer so that you can have quick access to it. Otherwise, you'd have to go on the public drive and pull it up to find it. Again, by departments, and we try to prioritize that. The committee went through a reworking of this so that, the lead person in each area decides to call the next couple and have them call others, so that kind of a phone tree effect.
Recall means you're asking them to come in. What does it mean?
Say again?
The recall list, when you recall someone, you want them to come here and help.
Correct. That's what it's there for, because in any kind of disaster, we're going to need more help. I mean, even if it's a daytime thing, we're going to need more people and more help. But very critical at night to get people in here to help out. And that's where we appeal to all of you. Even if you're not scheduled to be there, if something happens and you know that we may need help, in a nighttime event, it's soon going to be daybreak, and residents are going to be hungry, and need the toilet, and we're going to need a lot of help. So it's critical to have our recall list to be able to call people in. Emergency references includes numbers for services that might be needed in emergency. It also includes our partnered evacuation facility sites. So you can see, if you can read it, there's the poison control, fire, police, public works, natural gas, Pacific Power, Department of Human Services, Red Cross, Albany Senior Center, DHS Office of Licensing. So, because if we have a disaster and if we have to notify DHS what the impact has been, and even if we are defending in place, in other words, staying here and caring for our residents, we may be on our generator, but we still need to notify DHS of an occurrence and what our intervention is.
Who are the partner facilities?
Our partner facilities, Benedictine and Mount Angel, Dallas Retirement and Dallas, obviously, Corvallis Caring Place in Corvallis. They're an affiliate of ours. And I think we have Corvallis Manor also. But we, as Mennonite Village, have the ability to do a lot of things on campus where we would not need to leave. Even if we had to evacuate Mennonite home, we'd have the ability to use Lakeside Center and even use Quail Run. So only if it was a campus-wide event would we likely go to another facility. And in that event of the big earthquake, that's going to be a region-wide thing. There's not going to be any point in evacuating. We're going to be defending in place in a situation like that. Communications plan. We have to have, for all doctors, service entities, volunteers, names and addresses of primary and secondary contact information, in HR and on shift. So this is part of our communications plan. So methods to communicate: phone, cell phone, text, website, call in-service training like this, appealing to you to think about us, come in here, come if you can in the event of any disaster, if you can get here. Actions, so we'll send out a message on the lunch shift, call the primary number, call the secondary number, post information on our website, post an emergency line, so that line will be set up so that you can call in on that line. We do have some hardwired lines. Now, whether they'd be active or not still is a question. Ham radio, and we're talking about getting a satellite phone so that we would have that ability to communicate outside of the area. Use campus residents, as volunteers if we need to help, if we don't have enough staff, critically go after critical staff, provide room and board. And we have to keep a log of residents and staff every hour. That's another one of these CMS requirements. In Katrina hurricane, they found in New Orleans and some of those other impacted areas that staff left. They were more concerned about their family. They left nursing homes and hospitals, walked away from the job. Now, some of them lost their licenses over that. But and honestly, we're all going to be concerned about our loved ones first. But they are now requiring us to, every hour, we have to go around and take a log of all the staff and residents that are keeping track of people. All hazards assessment, and this is something that we review annually. The first page of it is naturally occurring events. So it's things like hurricanes, tornadoes. I guess I do have a pointer here. Severe thunderstorms, snowfall, ice. So these are all natural events. The ones that we have three most likely to occur are ice storms, temperature extremes, and epidemic. Joanne keeps beating us over the head with epidemics and reporting and how many we have, occurrences we have before we have to report it and releasing you to come back to work. So these are natural things. And then on the end here is the percentage of likelihood that it's a real threat. So tornadoes, we're saying 24%. But the ice storm, the earthquake is 56. Temperature extremes, because we can get over 100 degrees here in the valley in the summer. The new building has air conditioning now, and the renovation of existing Mennonite home will add air conditioning to the resident rooms. So that will help. So natural type things. The second page is technological events. So these are things like electrical failure, generator failure, transportation failure, natural gas, water, sewer failures, communications, HVAC, fire internal, fire external, hazmat exposure. So again is, the probability. Well, we have a 3 on communications failure and a 3 on information systems failure. And I think Shauna would agree with that. Computers go down, or the software catches a glitch, or those kind of things. We've become so dependent on electronic documentation and records that when that fails, how do we keep those records and those documentation? So those are our highest risk things. And then these columns are human impact, property impact, business impact, and then how well prepared are we? What's our internal response and what's our external response? So the business impact, 3's on a fire, and structural damage and communications failure. Because if the property is damaged, it's going to take months to get things fixed back up before we can, again, serve residents in those areas. In those fires 2 summers ago in Southern California, they failed to shut off their heating and ventilation systems, and it sucked in all that smoke and ash. And, you know, when they got cleaned up and they had to replace most of their heating and ventilation systems, fans and things, because ash is is an aggregate. I mean, it just grinds on any belts, pulleys, wheels, it just corroded things. And so it took them months after the fires were all out and the roads were all accessible again before they could get the building back to be able to be licensed again with Department of Health Services. That, they actually had to come back in and do their facility type inspection, like we had to do with the new building before we could occupy it. She had 32 pages of checklists of things that had to comply with every one of those items before we could move residents in there. And that's the kind of thing that they had to do again after those fires. So big impact. The third page is human-related events, things like mass casualty, terrorism, hostage situation, labor action, a bomb threat. So, what are our highest impacts there? We didn't have any of those as very high impact, but the human impact of a mass casualty obviously would be very high. The same with the business impact of mass casualty events. The biggest one is that, that hostage situation, or the active shooter or an intruder, and the impact of that. Because media jumps all over those kinds of things, and how are we going to, control the media and the publicity that brings? But, the first part of it is the human impact on that, and are you going to need to provide counseling after an event like that? So the admins involved and discuss a group of all these things. Okay, so this one is events involving hazardous materials. So if you had chemical exposure of some kind, radiological type event, that's more hospital. It's the mass casualty, the small casualty, chemical exposure, medium-sized internal spills, large spills are chemical terrorism. So we have to have plans for all these kinds of things as well. So this is the numbers totaled up, given a percentage to help us improve on our system, and this assessment is done annually. And there's a copy in our disaster manual. So this talks about the hazard-specific relative risk to our medical, and each of the natural area, the technological, the human, or the hazmat. And the technological is the highest impact to both human and business and facility. Probability and severity, below, that one's at 40%, that's below 40%. What we all participate throughout the year. Elopement drills, each care area has a missing resident code 10 drill. Village has a first responder drill. Fire drills, each area has one every 3 months, so there should be 4 each year on each shift. In different parts of the building, and so that we know how to respond. The fire marshal went through all those records, and his comment was, well, you got 2 out of 4 at 4:30 a.m. I said, yeah, well, try to spread them out different times of the shift. that's the kind of thing they're looking for. Different times during the shift, different locations, different scenarios, whether it's smoking a smoke detector so it goes off, or whether you simulate that it's a TV in a resident room. Evacuation drills. Each area has a drill done every year where residents either fully or partially evacuate the building. So, and a new requirement with CMS is that we have to do annually a drill with the greater community. Be that City of Albany, be that county, be it with Samaritan Health. So, we did one in the fall with the City of Albany EMTs. But that's now an annual requirement.
Are all of those things listed on the all hazards sheet?
So the all hazards.
Generally, in particular, like the large lizard attacking?
The all hazards requirement is, what's your general response to any hazard?
Well, what's our general response for the lizard attacking?
The lizard attack.
Lizard? Isn't that a lizard? And then in your picture?
Right there?
Yeah.
Is that a cobra? Is that a cobra?
Threatening it is, and should I be really concerned about it, or it might not?
No.
More of like a Pacific Northwest, more like a South Pacific type hazard.
Right. Right.
Okay, I'm just checking.
So the all hazards policy is, general response to any type of concern.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving right along. Our mindset. We might think that this will never happen here, but anything is possible, and we need to know how to reach help to protect both our residents and our coworkers. We need to start thinking, if it happens here, this is what we will do. Oregon does experience weather conditions that are unusual to the area. September 17th, tornado near Lebanon. September 17, severe thunderstorms at the coast. Different wildfires throughout Oregon. And, Portland had its heaviest snowfall, about 16 inches. Well, here about 5 years ago, we had about 18 inches here in Albany. City of Albany does not own a single snowplow, as was evident. The county plowed up here to the bridge and went back south, and Columbus, Waverly stayed rutted and for weeks. So it can happen, and it did happen then, and I think for 5 days I was picking up staff in the morning and taking them home and picking up next shift, and which is all fine and good. We adapt. We have to what happens. Thoughts, questions? We can all strive to do better. If you see something does not work or could be improved, share it. Try and participate in drills, and know where your disaster manual is and how to get a hold of it. Okay, any other comments or questions? You may have seen a gentleman, Ariel and Michelle and I were around with this today. OSHA inspector walked in this morning. OSHA safety, work safety program. This was a random compliance inspection. He claimed they haven't been here since 2010, but I think this was the 8th OSHA inspection I've been part of here. Look at, our orientation process, our training process, our safety program, HR documentation of both orientation and of criminal background checks and things like that. And then, interviewed. I mean, he interviewed 6 different employees, trying to find one from different areas on campus, and then did the facility walkthrough. Very complimentary of our facility and of our program. He could see, he could recognize the safety culture that we have, awareness. Employees that he interviewed, responded appropriately. He asked some questions like, what are the hazards that most concern you every day? And most of it was, water on the floor, slips and falls kind of things. Asked about personal protective equipment. Do you have it? Do you know where it is? Are you aware of a safety committee? And how often does it meet? And questions like that. 2 citations, not to put Janie on the spot, but both in housekeeping and laundry. One thing is eye wash stations. Eye wash stations we have them a number of places, and that's all in good. Like, we have them in the dirty utilities, but we're not required to have them there. We're required to have them in the places where we're mixing chemicals, which, housekeeping and laundry has to change their barrels, and housekeeping has to fill those mop buckets and put the chemicals back in the dispenser. Eye wash stations are required to work with a single action. Ours are connected on the sink, and you have to first turn the water on, and then you have to pull the button to get the water to come out of the eye wash. So you have to be able to do it with one action. So those are gonna have to be replaced. And the housekeepers were on lunch break, and they jammed their cart up in front of the sink where the eye wash was. So not only was that the wrong eye wash, but it was inaccessible. But again, no, very, very complimentary. A nice enough guy, and he was here, about compliance, but education, and he took pictures of stuff. Ariel did a great job of, giving him some of the information he needed, and he took pictures of things that, we have around campus here that he wants to be able to show other people. See, this is the way you can provide information for your staff and documentation in different areas. Dining services has a lot of information around on the walls at the dish machines and the sinks, and interviewed a cook there about, do you have the cut protection gloves for, using knives? And she said, yeah. And he said, where are they? Well, they're hanging right there on the wall. And one of the other workers was over there cutting, and he had one on him. Well, he said, that's fine. So that's great. You have to have them, but you don't need to use it. So, really, I know, and that's true. I mean, you have to have it, but it's a choice. It's a personal protection equipment. Some equipment you have to use while you're doing the job, but that one, he said, you don't have to use it, but you have to have it. Good idea to use it. Anyway, so all in all, thank you, and very good. We had a good survey. Didn't get it free, but.
Yeah, Dave, when will you be doing your fire drill stuff and the new building? I missed it.
Okay, we'll hold fire drills there. Again, I can choose. I don't have to do one every month in that building as well as in the older part of the building. It's all Mennonite homes, so. But yeah, we'll be doing, and there'll still be an annual fire and life safety in-service like this. Okay.
I know you used to come in